Hello and welcome to my course, How to Crush Online Microstakes Poker. I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad that you signed up, and I'm excited to teach you how you can turn nickels, dimes, and quarters into hundreds, even thousands of dollars of profit playing the online microstakes. So I'm glad you're here. I know that you have lots of options when it comes to choosing a poker coach and choosing a training site or a training series or a training course like this, or even books to help improve your game. And I'm glad that you chose me out of all the different options that you have available. So let's get into it. So there's lots of different reasons why people fail to beat the microstakes, and I want you to understand reasons why people fail to beat the microstakes, because it's important for you to understand this before we talk about what you need to do and what you need to learn to beat these games. So the microstakes, when we talk about the microstakes, we're talking about the lowest stakes online. So we're talking about $2 buy-in games, $4 buy-in games, $5 buy-in games, all the way up to around $30 buy-in games. And once you get past around $30 and you move up to what we call 50 NL, that's really when you're getting out of the microstakes, or you're getting really to the upper echelon of the microstakes and moving into the low stakes. So this course really focuses on the lower echelon of the microstakes. We're talking about 2NL, which is the $2 buy-in games, 4NL, which is a $4 buy-in games, 5NL, which is a $5 buy-in games, and 10NL, which is a $10 buy-in games. And so when we're playing these games, there's going to obviously be a lot of recreational, fun type of players. And that's one of the reasons why people fail to beat these games, is because there's recreational players. They're bad players. They just come to have fun, and they really don't know even basic poker strategy. And so they're going to fail to beat these games. They're going to be the ones that are going to donate a lot of their money to us. And that's where a lot of our winnings are going to come from. One of the other reasons why people fail to beat the microstakes, or even to move up and out of the microstakes, is that they apply tactics and strategies that don't apply to the microstakes. So if you have taken other poker courses before, you've read some books, maybe you've joined some training sites, you've probably heard of concepts such as balanced poker and game theory optimal play, or GTO style of poker with the Nash equilibrium, things like that. So there are strategies and tactics such as balanced play, GTO style play, Nash equilibrium, and all that stuff that applies when you're playing against good thinking players at higher stakes, where people are bluffing a lot, and you have to have counter strategies that are bluffing. You have to be balanced as well. There's a lot of strategies that teach that. And a good example is Upswing Poker by Doug Polk and Ryan Fee. I'm a member there. And that's definitely not for the micro stakes, but it's for people up in the low stakes and up and up and up, all the way up to the nosebleed stakes. We have to understand how to play a balanced style of play. At the micro stakes, we don't want to try to utilize strategies like these, because they're not going to be effective. When you're playing against different types of opponents, you have to adjust your strategies. And so certain strategies that you see a coach applying at maybe $100 buying games online or $1,000 buying games online aren't typically going to apply as well at the micro stakes. And so you see a lot of people that they sign up for these other training sites, and they try to utilize those tactics and strategies to the micro stakes, and they realize they're not that effective. And so that's one of the other reasons why people fail to beat the micro stakes, is that you can't just have a pocket set of strategies and tactics and use them everywhere, because it just doesn't work. And so what you're going to learn in this course is you're going to learn basic concepts, tactics, and strategies that are designed specifically to beat the micro stakes. And it's going to show you how to be a profitable poker player. Now, this leads us to the next point. When people start to learn the game and they start to improve in their game, in certain times, they tend to overthink situations and make them more difficult than they are, and we call this leveling themselves. And so we turn simple situations and simple issues into complex ones, where they overthink it and they overanalyze it and they level themselves. And this really is a trap, I think, that any learning and thinking poker player goes through. I've done it myself. You'll do it, and pretty much every other decent poker player that's starting to move up in the ranks and starting to improve their game and starting to learn different types of theories of the games, tactics, and strategies that they move up, they're going to start applying those in their games. And sometimes they're just going to make a simple situation a more difficult situation. And so that's another reasons why people fail to beat the micro stakes. The next two go hand in hand. People get too emotionally involved and they don't understand variance in poker. So, what I mean by getting too emotionally involved, I mean people that just go on tilt and get irritated, people that don't understand basic statistics in the variance that goes with an understanding statistical deviations and how long an upswing or a downswing can occur within the span of a session or a month or a year. And it just really derails their game because you get irritated, it derails your game, you play poorly, and you end up spewing off a lot of money. And we'll talk about that later in the course. The next one is poor bankroll management skills. So some people decide that, well, maybe I only need to play with 5 buy-ins, or they decide to take a shot at higher stakes with 2 or 3 buy-ins. And you'll hear it time and time again if you go on YouTube. There's lots of pros where they had a $20,000 bankroll, they're playing $200 buy-in games, and they were too aggressive, and now they're back down at the micro stakes because they busted their entire bankroll. So that's another reason why people fail to beat the micro stakes or just fail to beat the game in general. And then the last one is that people play against tough opponents. Now, this isn't a bad thing, but when you are working on your game, when I mean people playing against tough opponents, I mean people aren't table and seat selecting well, and they're playing against too many opponents that are better than them, and it really hinders their mental game as well as their progression in their poker game, and it causes a lot of people just to quit playing poker altogether. So on the next slide, we're going to talk about what do we need to do to crush online micro stakes. And before we go over that, let me give you a snapshot of what my winnings look like at the micro stakes. And so I don't play for a living. I don't play full time. I play for enjoyment. For an example, I am re-updating this first lecture in February 2017. And in fact, I hadn't played poker in roughly 2 months online. I'd just been playing live and really just been focusing on and studying my game. And so I just play for fun. I play for the enjoyment. I play for the challenge, and I play to teach people how to play. And this is my results playing 5NL, which is $5 buying game, 10NL, which is a $10 buying game, and 25NL, which is a $25 buying game. And these are my results over, I would say, since 2015. You notice I don't play that many hands. I've only played around 213,000 hands in about just over 2 years. But you'll notice just for fun in my spare time, as a bit of a pastime for me, as a challenge and as a hobby, I played the micro stakes and it's been profitable for me. You notice that I am going to have some downswings. It's quite common in poker, but overall my graph looks pretty solid. And let me pull my graph over here, and I want to pull up my results from last couple of days of playing. I want to talk to you about that because I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about in terms of how profitable these games can be, because I just got back into playing. And so here we go. These are my results. I guess I could show all my other stats on here as well, but I just decided to get back in the game. I've been studying my game. I've been looking to develop further. And in a couple of mini sessions playing 4 tabling or 2 tabling, 3 tabling, I played 3 really short sessions, and I'm up $115 in probably, I would say, about an hour's worth of play playing 25NL. Yes, I ran good, but also I'm a really solid player to the micro stakes because I've been working on my game for quite some time. So this just shows you how profitable these games can be, especially once you get up to around 20NL or above. You can start making some real money, especially when you're running good. So let's talk about how to crush the micro stakes. First of all, you need to understand it's not that difficult. Yes, there's going to be certain sites, there's going to be certain players that are going to make your life hell when you're playing against them. But out of all the different poker sites available to us across the world, across the digital spectrum, there are a lot of bad recreational opponents that we want to play against, aka fish and whale or fun players, however you want to call them. And if we table select and we seat select and if we site select well, then it's a very profitable and fun game. So what do you have to do to beat these games? You just have to master poker fundamentals. And this course is not going to show you how to beat the nosebleeds. It's not going to show you how to sit down with top pros and crush games against them. That's not what this is about. This is about mastering poker fundamentals. And really, this is kind of a bit of a hybrid between teaching you how to play basic ABC, straightforward, tight aggressive poker, and maybe a little bit of bluffing here and there, because when it comes to playing the micro stakes, it's all about playing good, tight aggressive, straightforward poker against bad opponents and then having selective bluffing opportunities. We don't want to get out of control. We don't want to get crazy and start over bluffing people because the rake is so high at the micro stakes. We just want to get the money in when it's good and let our bad opponents pay us off when they shouldn't, but we know they're going to because they're bad. So we want to learn our basic pre-flop and post-flop fundamental concepts and strategies. We want to learn the foundations for becoming good at hand reading. So we want to learn to read our opponents. This is something that takes time. This reading opponent's bullet point is probably one of the toughest things that my students struggle with, and it's something that it took me the longest to develop over time as well. So understand that this is going to take you time. You may think, well, if I'm able to master pre-flop and post-flop strategies, then I should be able to read my opponents very easily. In fact, once you master those, then it starts to come in, it starts to develop, you start to develop that strategy and that ability to read your opponents much more effortlessly. But it takes a lot of active learning before it becomes very passive and natural for you. And then really just understanding essential concepts, all the sorts of essential concepts that we're going to go over in this course, such as bankroll management, variance, tilt, and everything that goes along with pre-flop and post-flop strategies. We're going to talk a bit on basic poker mathematics in this course, even though this is not a course on poker mathematics all by itself, knowing that I have a separate one, as well as my books, my best-selling books on Amazon. But we are going to cover that because those are essential concepts, and also the foundations of exploitative poker as well. So understanding different opponent types, understanding their HUD stats, understanding their tendencies, and how we can exploit them. And then lastly, understanding good table and seat selection. So we want to sit with the fish and rake in the money. Really, that's our goal. Our strategy is not going to be overly exciting and overly aggressive. This is not going to be a type of course where I'm going to show you how to start bluffing people left and right. And you start, trying to get them off of big hands. Really, that's not what this course is about. That can be fun and exciting, but it's also an easy way to spew off all your money. So we want to table and seat select well, and we want to start building up our bankroll, and our goal is to get out of the micro stakes as soon as possible, or just play for fun if you want to stay here. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are here. Just understand this course is all about the fundamentals. It's not going to be exciting and sexy, but it's time tested and it works. So I'm glad to have you here. Thanks for signing up, and let's go ahead and let's jump into the next lecture. So I'll see you guys in a minute.